Well, thank you, John Mundell, for joining us for this session in which we look at synodality and the Laudato Si action platform from the religious perspective. And really, we're very fortunate to have you join us because you have an environmental background and you've done a number of things that we're being asked to do with the platform. Many areas of pollution, making a safer environment for so many people. So with that kind of energy, with the platform and with us now, please, John, could you tell us a little bit about how your previous experience has really helped you with this new position that you have?
Well, thank you, Sister Sheila, for that wonderful intro. I always go back to one of the foundational experiences I had growing up as a 13-year-old in 1970 on the first Earth Day. I participated on that day, cleaning up the roadways near my little city, and that kind of planted a seed that grew into a desire for an education that included, earth science and environmental engineering, and kind of giving me all the tools that went along with that passion for the earth, And so over the next, really my whole career, 40 years of a career in environmental consulting, environmental restoration, water protection, resource development, I've had that opportunity just to live that love of the planet in my daily work, getting that satisfaction of seeing a goal accomplished, assessing a situation, developing a work plan and carrying it out. And of course, those kind of tools give you a lot of skills about things that are very practical. And the Laudato Si action platform is a very kind of practical action platform that we're hoping to move forward. That experience also kind of dovetailed into my own, I guess, religious experience, mixing this with who I am as far as the Catholic Church. I became very involved in social justice issues in the church. I got involved with a group called the Focolare movement, who's part of an ecclesial community that focuses on unity and building unity in a united world, which is a little bit about what the platform is about as well, And so that experience with the Focolare also led me to help to start a company, actually, an environmental company that had a social mission and became part of the economy of communion. It's a network of companies focused on hearing the cry of the poor and helping to alleviate poverty in a business model kind of way. And so I became a member of the International Commission and helped coordinate the activities of over 1,000 small to medium-sized businesses over the last 15 years, especially, trying to make that network more effective. And then finally, I guess, since Laudato Si came out with the Pope Francis, it stirred my church involvement even more from a practical standpoint, from being involved with the creation of the Creation Care Commission in the Archdiocese of Indianapolis, and developing a program that included building websites, developing pilot sustainability programs, and doing energy audits on churches, which wasn't necessarily my normal environmental background. This is all above ground. A lot of the things I did were below ground. So that kind of involvement with the Arch Indy group also led me. I was also invited at one point to go to the Vatican the month after Laudato Si was launched to become part of a group to develop ideas for how do we implement this, and which led to involvement in the Global Catholic Climate Movement, which became the Laudato Si movement, which ultimately ended up involving me and becoming involved in one of the working groups for the LSAP and then evaluating it. And so that kind of golden thread about how did I get here, I sometimes wonder how I got here, but that was the background that helped prepare me a little bit for this position. And along the way, I have also built a couple of global websites that kind of help connect people too. So all of that hopefully will pay off and I won't make as many mistakes on this time around. So
Well, what a wonderful journey, John. You can really see the hand of God in all the ways that you've been living your life and sharing your wonderful graces and your expertise with so many others. So thank you for that journey and for also continuing on with us with the Laudato Si Action Platform. And so since you started this new position, which you just spent a few months, what have you been doing at this time?
Well, it's been a very busy time. I started in July. It was a great time period starting in July when everyone in the Vatican was going on vacation. So it's not like I had to find things to keep myself busy. I took that time initially, the first month or month and a half, to kind of assess where we are, to look at the results of that evaluation process that we went through on LSAP in order to find, get a direction of what kind of things we needed to change. I went through also just a kind of an awareness building within the media again about what LSAP was, being interviewed by a number of media outlets. I wrote several articles on different magazines and different kind of publications just to kind of broadcast, because we had been kind of quiet for about 6 months and we needed to kind of raise that visibility up again. And then also getting to know the team that was responsible for this, the group within the Laudato Si movement who'd been part of this, the team that helped put together and develop the website, as well as the people at the dicastery, and Father Josh, who was very good at kind of giving me history and direction and contacts and information, because you can imagine we have fingers throughout the world in this thing. And then we started trying to get at least this monthly communication going that was really a newsletter, just to put out information and get a kind of a dialogue going that we hadn't had happening. So that just getting that ramped up to make sure we're kind of reporting on a few things going on around the world. I don't think it's necessarily the exact format we may stay with, but it's the beginning of communication. So there's been some energy going into that. We've met with most of the working groups and steering group to kind of find out the next steps of what's going to happen. These working groups were put together to kind of provide input into how to develop the Laudato Si Action Platform and what kind of actions were appropriate for different kind of sectors, be it schools or universities or religious congregations. And so now the question is, well, what do we do going forward? How are we going to use those people who've devoted that time and that energy? Is there some kind of thing we want them to continue on with? And we of course said yes. I think what we're trying to do now is to make sure that those people that have been engaged are doing things they want to do at the global level. Some are very busy people. Some have many responsibilities locally that they're filled up to here, and that's okay. Maybe they can only do things every so often, but there are others who have passions in social media, video production, sustainable energy. So what we're trying to do is really direct those working groups into kind of expertise areas that we can tap into and share information from, and also the working groups really starting to engage people outside the working groups, really to focus on reaching out and signing people up and getting more people involved. So I think that's the opportunity we have. We have something like 6,000 plus participants in LSAP right now, and that includes probably about 8,000 or so total people, but it actually is a reach of about 2.5 million people, because it includes universities and religious congregations and various groups. So that's not a bad start. I would like to have been much bigger than that, and I'm sure the people here would have loved to have even more. But the potential exists for much more now that we've kind of got our feet set. So also looking at how we plan to expand, organizationally, we have some support gaps I think we need to fill in order to support the structure we have kind of set up with these with the various sectors and with our Laudato Si goals as well. So we're evaluating that and looking ahead to plan for 2023, which will include funding and support for the kind of group we need to have. So, that's a number of things. And on top of this, we also have been involved in the website itself, revamping the website, starting to look at that and to make the website responsive to the way the evaluation kind of laid out, the kind of feedback that was given. So that, in my opinion, is my least, how would I say? I wish we were further along, but we had a few hiccups about where the website was hosted and who had control of the programming, and some very practical things. When you get into website management, you realize, okay, this needs to be fixed before we do this, But now we're kind of getting that traction going. And so, those are kind of a few of the things I've been involved in addition to, while all that was going on, the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development was undergoing a major reorganization. And that happened in August of this year, which, when you have something as I won't say entrenched as the Vatican, but as the groups are, and to really bust those up and reorganize them is a major deal. And so we got in the middle of all that as well. And so there's a lot going on, all very positive, I think. And it's not like we're seen as any kind of ugly stepchild. We're actually right in the middle of that as something that they value very highly. And so how are we incorporated and supported by that new structure, which is meant, by the way, to support the bishops in their roles as kind of, shepherds for the church. So lots of exciting things going on, lots of busyness, but we're hoping that we're starting to kind of get some traction. Coming up next week will be the celebration of the annual, our first year, and kind of looking back about how we did and then looking forward. So.
Well, thank you, John, for really taking the time to assess what's going on and then reflecting on what kind of changes need to be made. So you did that with listening and dialoguing with those that were involved. And then your own research, your own study to see what things need to be changed in order to move us forward with action. So thank you very much, John, for that leadership. And so amongst the things that you're doing, I'm going to push you a little further and say, how do you vision? We have these 7 sectors. We have these 7 Laudato Si goals. Father Josh is very fond of 7 because of the biblical understanding of multitude and fruitfulness. So what do you see as the vision pulling us forward, into the future?
I love these big picture questions, Sister Sheila. Those are really good. And I didn't take this position to kind of be a token kind of person that kind of does gentle things and keeps in line and moves things along very, how would I say, conservatively, not making many waves. I've seen the excitement of accomplishing things very tangibly in my career. I've cleaned up some of the nastiest sites around the world and revamped them to become reused, and seen some really tangible things. That engineering part of me and the earth science part of me likes that accomplishment of goals. So one of the visions I have for this is really the platform, I think, can be instrumental in creating this global community that's on the same journey, and that the community feels they're part of something much bigger than just the local actions that are going on. Sometimes, I know how I felt, many of us felt here in Indianapolis, that were we the only Catholics that are concerned about environmental things? I mean, what's going on, church? Wake up, and to be quite frankly, the Catholic Church, thank goodness for Pope Francis, but we've been running behind in this area for some time. I've interacted with a lot of committed and passionate Christians and Muslims and Hindus for the earth much earlier than we've kind of brought on board. So now, now that we're connected, and the earth and world is much smaller with Zooms and all these kind of abilities to connect, that I think we can feel like we can build a community that makes us feel like the actions matter, and that they do, because we decide to do certain things all together. And it's that unity in what we do that helps create a wave, a kind of an impact. if we're all going 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 different directions, it's just a bunch of movement in different things, and it's not a clear direction. So I hope the Laudato Si Action Platform is one vehicle, one program, one community that people can look at and say, wow, the Catholics, there's a group that really are concerned, and they're attracting other people, and they're dialoguing with people outside the Catholic Church, and they're accomplishing things. Look, their churches are going solar, they're adding wind power, they're improving their energy, they're stopping their wasteful habits caused by a little bit of excess capitalism, if you will. So there's all kinds of positive things I see in the vision of LSAP. I think it has certainly has a potential, and a large part of that is creating a kind of this ability to communicate with each other and keep each other on track. So that's the first thing. I think the second thing, the other vision, is my belief that this vision also allows us. It's kind of like we have this once we catch hold of this vision, this kind of this passion for seeing our connectedness, right? All things are connected or interconnected. That's what Laudato Si says. That's been a part of a foundational piece of the charisms of the church, I think, even beyond that. But once people get that virus, that divine virus, they can pass that on from person to person and group to group. And it's attractive because it makes you feel kind of like you're being completed by something that's been missing in your life, an awareness of someone else in another country or another situation that you are now, it's too late. You know them so well that you have to do something. And so I think LSAP is a way of passing that virus on and revitalizing the church. We have a message coming from Cardinal Czerny in our annual report that talks about the experience of St. Francis and what God told St. Francis to do, which is what? Rebuild the church, and how we have that opportunity. And I think it's a kind of a dramatic and I guess, I don't know, it's a very, I won't say conservative, it's very liberal kind of view about how we can revamp the church with this kind of vision. So LSAP, I think, is right in the middle of that. And part of the LSAP vision too, which I think comes up, is how we support the bishops in their role. Many of our bishops aren't quite engaged yet in this process, but we're hoping to this year make this a priority with them and show how LSAP can support the action and the work in their diocese. And so the ability to support our hierarchical structures to become more engaged is something pretty exciting, and I look forward to kind of helping that, helping us facilitate that. And then, I think one vision, I'll add just one last vision here because I'll go on and on, is this ability to look at the church and see, we've talked the talk for a good amount of time here, 7 years since Laudato Si came out, and the Pope's words have been beautiful. But there's been a lot of talk and not enough action. And so how do we know we're going in the right direction? One way is to assess, in a way, the global church's sustainability. And LSAP is a way of documenting that, if you will, of gathering enough data to see where we're going. And so my view of LSAP will become the foundational element for a global Catholic sustainability report that we can issue in all transparency that shows, hey, here's where we've been. Here we are, warts and all, but here's the movement we have done to go forward and to improve. So those are, I like to look at big picture and big thoughts, but I think all of that is possible if we dream big enough and we stick together.
Now, John, you're keeping the idea of synodality in mind, which is our whole church is now in conversation moving forward. So how do you see the work that you're doing as being kind of a service, providing all of us a way of realizing this vision of working together as church and honoring the contributions that being made for the religious congregations who are throughout all of the sectors, So any insights that you would like to offer us in this move?
Well, first of all, I want to, take this small chance to thank all of the religious and their involvement this last year. This is not patting your back just to make you all feel good, but you have exerted and shown great leadership and moving forward with real actions, with real plans, and with your engagement. It's important to the platform and providing, providing reflections that really have impacts. I was reading of several of the reflections this last week, and I was really touched. I kind of wanted to be, you start reading a reflection from a religious congregation, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, I want to be a Benedictine. This is so cool, and so that you've created the opportunity to be kind of salt and leaven for the rest of us. And so what do I hope with the synodal process is this is also, we've had this exercise in synodality. It allows us to kind of get this feedback from the ground up and really have a voice to at least be expressed in the church. We're not a democracy. I know what a democracy looks like. It's you vote, and 51 people right now, the United States, 51 people out of 100 gets to make the decision, whether 49 people don't get to make the decision. So we're not a democracy, but we're a structure that listens to all the faithful, and in that listening, we're able to discern a path forward that God takes us on, and if we're willing to follow that kind of inspiration. And so, LSAP, our process of evaluation was very from the ground up. And so I hope that we continue kind of getting that feedback and using that feedback to make changes in the program and to make improvements, and where necessary to find resources to do what we want to do. So I never want to squelch any kind of feedback. At some point, I do have to say, some point after you get all the feedback, you have to do something with it. And you do the best you can with that feedback and move forward. You don't want the feedback to slow you down so that you become, frozen, but you want to know enough that you really have some clear direction and you keep moving forward. And I think this process it's been a little messy, but hey, that's I think messy is okay when everybody's voice is heard. And the other thing I will say on this, here's the other thing. My experience is I've had this beautiful experience of talking to everyone around the world and all the continents and all the places that have been experiencing climate change and really impact that is negative. And what I realize is that this synodal process is acting as an amplifier for those voices in a much greater way than has ever happened, so that the bishops in North America may be able to hear the bishops in Oceania and their problems and really relate and then be motivated themselves. So this idea of everyone has a synodal voice that gets put into the mix. And so I think we're part of that, and I hope that we kind of carry that forward and listen to all the sectors. I would have to say this, I'm speaking to religious here, and of course we have the sectors of parishes and dioceses and archbishops, but this is a process that also involved the laity. So this has been a wonderful kind of experience of people, the fact that I was even chosen and selected to head this thing up, I thought was in itself a small miracle, in the sense that what's someone that's a layperson leading this thing globally? How can that be? He's not, he may not be worthy of that, whatever. But I think this idea that the voices are being heard and being respected and listened to, I think that's a wonderful thing.
Well, thank you, John, and thank you that your voice is being heard and that you're able to articulate your message so well, and you're generous with your time and you're engaging others in something that really is going to make a difference, because we believe in what we're doing. And your guidance already, as you've shared all of the things that you've attended to, and you're not even in your work for a few months, actually, that these things have been able to be accomplished. So certainly there are great things in store for us, and we all want to work together with this mission of Laudato Si and carrying it out with a Laudato Si action platform. So thank you so much, John Mundell. We taped you because it'd be too early in the morning for you to join us at the time we had scheduled. So John, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sister.